we prepared for a C-section. So we went back, and again, we had no reason to be alarmed, just kind of a slow process. But as they brought out Dior, our firstborn, she was as gray as the cement. And that was the moment I knew something was wrong. What was so odd is everything was perfect, just slow up until that point. But I watched as the NICU team brought Dior back to life. It was the longest minute or two of my life.
Colton Dixon is my guest today on CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, the podcast from the producers of Keep the Faith. I'm David Sams. You know, Colton, he became a household name something like 8 years ago. He was voted a fan favorite that made it to the top 7 on, season 11 of Fox's American Idol. And I, for years and years and years, I just loved American Idol. There were so many great talents that came from that, and Colton Dixon, he's one of them. You know, his career has been on the fast track ever since, and he has something like 100 million streams across all platforms. Can you imagine having 100 million streams on all the various platforms out there? That's pretty crazy. So he's had a lot of top hits, and he's got a self-titled EP out right now, and it's got a single on it that is just it's blowing the doors off the barn. I mean, it's incredible, and it's called Miracles, and it's available right now. And he welcomed 2 little miracles back in August. He and his wife Annie, they had twins, Dior and Athens. What cool names, huh? He's going to talk about that here in just a second. He's just a great guy. He's going to talk about the miracles in his life. And by the way, she was in labor for something like 30 hours. Can you believe that? And I'll let him tell the story. It was one of those things. I'm like, oh, this is going to sound somewhat painful just listening to this part of the interview, but I'm telling you, it was an absolute miracle, and it has a happy ending. So heads up, happy ending time. Hey, I've got a special for our podcast listeners from our friend Mike Lindell. You know, he's the inventor of MyPillow, and he's a big supporter of our efforts here at CIA and at Keep the Faith. And for a limited time, you can get a queen-sized premium MyPillow for the lowest price ever. He's, this thing's normally $69.98. It's now only $29.98. And MyPillow is a patented, and it's one of those marvels, okay? It's just one of those marvels that helps you sleep better at night. I know myself, I've got 4 of them, and I absolutely love the MyPillows. But at any rate, this is a queen-size MyPillow. It's only $29.98, a steep discount, because he wants all of our listeners here to benefit from it. You know, it's washable and dryable. It comes with a 10-year warranty, and it's made right here in the USA. And, you know, Mike is one of these guys that he just does not take no. He's like, you know what? I want everybody to believe in this as much as I do, and I want to show your listeners how much I appreciate them and how much I appreciate what you do on Keep the Faith and with CIA, the podcast. So he said, what I'm going to do is, you know, my guarantee is normally 60 days. But for your folks, I'm going to make it longer than that. So, like right now, I'm recording this here in December. We still got, a couple weeks or so till Christmas. This is what's crazy. He says, I'm going to extend that, give it a little bit more time, and people can try this out, and I'll extend the money-back guarantee through March the 1st of 2021, which is pretty cool. Now, by the way, if you happen to be listening to this podcast in July of 2021, I guess your guarantee is the standard 60 days. Okay. So hopefully you listen to these things when they come out. But that's cool. So here's all you have to do. Call 1-800-422-5310. That's 1-800-422-5310. or go to mypillow.com and you'll see where the radio listeners special square is right there on the screen. Just pop on that and then type in the promo code KeepTheFaith. And that way we get credit for this, which is pretty cool. Thank you, Mike, for supporting us and thinking about our listeners right here on CIA Contagious Influencers of America. Hey, let's get to our interview with Colton Dixon. This was a lot of fun, and I think that you're going to have a lot of fun too. Here it is, my interview with Colton Dixon. Hey, Colton, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
I'm probably getting more sleep than you are.
I would venture to say that you're right on that one.
So let me ask you, when you have twins, do they wake up at the same time, or are they in sync, or how does that work in the middle of the night?
Sometimes they do, which those are really great moments when they do at the same time. But not always. We're trying really hard to follow the books, and just with two, one seems so easy to us right now. I'm sure it still has its hurdles, but we're doing the sound machine while they're asleep, and it's amazing. You turn that sound machine off, and they both open their eyes at the exact same time. It's like, that is wild how that works. But yeah, we're doing it, man. We are full steam ahead with twins.
So how's your wife Annie doing?
She is such a trooper. She's wonderful. She bounced back so quick. We just hit 6 weeks, so she's excited to get back in the gym and to be able to start working out again. But she looks amazing. It's a lot of work. People told us that, through the whole pregnancy, and you're going to have double the fun, double the trouble, double everything, But man, we wouldn't trade it for the world. It's amazing.
Take me back to that moment a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, when it all happened.
Sure.
And paint the picture for me and tell me what you guys went through.
Yeah, I'll try and keep this somewhat short, but...
it's a podcast. You can go for an hour.
Okay,
you can
wonderful.
Give me the whole version, right?
Great. If I start babbling, let me know. It was picture perfect pregnancy for Annie. Just ticked all the boxes, checked all the boxes. Everything looked great. She started having contractions just an hour after her checkup visit, and she was a few days after her due date. And with twins, that is really rare. So she went 38 and a half weeks with twins. So we go to the hospital, and things are looking good, and a few hours pass, and things are still looking good, but we're kind of like, are things moving as quickly as they hope they would? We don't know. It's our first rodeo. But every time the nurses came in, they're like, man, these are the happiest twins we've ever seen on a monitor. So we were just expecting the best and so thrilled with the way everything was going. But as time passed and continued to go by, we got to the hospital at like 5 or 6 p.m. on a Monday. And then the next morning comes around, and things have kind of stalled a little bit. So it was just a long process. So that process took I want to say it was about 30 hours of labor. And then finally the doctor came in and was like, all right, let's have these babies. So as it came time to start pushing, and our firstborn Dior, her heart rate went up a little bit, and things just weren't progressing as the doctor would hope. So the doctor looked at us and said, hey, nothing to be super alarmed about, but I think we should maybe go to plan B. We just want to make sure we get these twins out. Don't cause them any more stress than they've already been in. So we prepared for a C-section. So we went back, and again, we had no reason to be alarmed, just kind of a slow process. But as they brought out Dior, our firstborn, she was as gray as the cement. And that was the moment I knew something was wrong. What was so odd is everything was perfect, just slow up until that point. But I watched as the NICU team brought Dior back to life. Felt it was the longest minute or two of my life. We had a decision to make. Do we practice what we preach, or do we give in to fear? So my wife and my wife was conscious and aware of everything going on, and I looked at Annie, and I think she knew the seriousness of what was taking place, and we started to pray. And I will say, I grew up Southern Baptist, but there were some words coming out of my mouth during that prayer. I don't know if it was English or not. But I'm thankful that we chose to have faith in that moment, that God was going to deliver us a miracle. And I think faith is what precedes a miracle. When we don't come with faith, I think God has his hands tied. It's up to us. He gives us the authority and the power when he says, I've given you the keys to the kingdom. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So I think we have more authority as believers than we realize. But we took God at his word, and we're like, God, we need a miracle here. We need 2 healthy girls, not just 1. And we watched as she started breathing again. And I would love to say that after those 2 minutes, everything was fine and dandy. It was a week-long process of getting Dior healthy again. And that's a miracle in and of itself, that she was only in the NICU for about a week. But it was a hard few minutes. Everything that I grew up believing in, the enemy wanted me to question it right then and there. But again, I'm so glad that we chose to stay strong and to press on and press forward and say, no, God is still a miracle working God, and we're going to see it, and we're going to get to tell people our testimony of this, and it's going to encourage other people who, maybe it's a hospital story, maybe it's specifically a NICU baby. Man, being in the NICU, it's a heavy place, man. You see babies who are, a pound to a couple pounds, who've been born really early, and you're like, man, some parents have had it a lot worse off. Some have it better than you, but you realize you're all kind of there together, and you're all in the same boat, and you're all wanting the same outcome. So we're thankful that Dior is able to come home a little after a week and to be reunited with her sister, Athens, and crazy story. But we're thankful that Dior is now healthy and happy, and she smiles a lot. It's good.
So how did you come up with Dior and Athens, the names? That
is a great question. My wife actually, she looked at me one day, she's like, okay, this is a little bit of a weird one. She's like, what do you think of Athens? And at first, I don't know why, I was like, Athens seems kind of like a boy name to me at first, it just seems strong. And lo and behold, it means strong and courageous. But the more I sat on, I'm like, that is so cool, and it's so unique, and I love the meaning. And then with Dior means golden. We actually were going to call Dior by her first name, Ava, and Ava means to live. So we kind of had in our mind that baby A was going to be Athens and baby B was going to be Ava. But as now Ava Dior came out and she was fighting for her life, we knew that's Ava. That's Ava Dior. It means to live and golden. But yeah, my wife and I, we had a list, as an artist, I'm really picky with words, with songwriting and with names, and they paint a really big picture to me, so I see the importance of it. And my wife as well. She does a lot of stuff with music and with writing, and so it was a little bit of a process for us to agree on names. She was really patient with me, but I'm so glad that we landed on the names that we did. They're really unique, which was important to us, but they have a lot of meaning as well. So,
can you tell? Is there a difference between the two? I know it's only been a couple of months, but is there some kind of distinctive difference?
My understanding of identical twins was flipped on its head whenever we met our identical twins, because they're not identical. And I'm like, did they get it wrong? How does that work? And, this is a non-medical person talking about that side of things. But apparently when the egg splits early on, they can take on their own characteristics and traits. And that's what happened in our case. So they're identical twins, which only means that the egg split, one egg that split, versus fraternal. You have 2 eggs. But yeah, there are differences. When Ava Dior came out, she got most of the groceries. She was a pound heavier than Athens, and she got all the hair. She has a head full of hair, man. It's hilarious. And Athens looks like, a balding middle-aged man right now. So she's still working on the hair thing. We have hope. But but they're perfect. I'm kind of glad that we can tell them apart, because in the back of our mind, we brought fingernail polish with us to the hospital thinking we'd have to paint one of their fingernails just to know which one was which, But we can tell them apart, at least for now. As they grow up, they might become more alike. As Athens catches up, in weight and the hair thing, I'm sure they'll look a lot more alike.
Well, that's so cool. Well, there's nothing like having daughters. I have 2 of my own. They've been a joy my entire life.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
We're
going to have
thrilled.
fun. And they'll be daddy's girls in 3 or 4 years. So
That's right. Looking forward to that.
So, man, this has been a heck of a year, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Where do you even begin? Just feels like it comes in waves. And, I was talking about this the other day with someone. It's just the enemy, man. I can feel, I see it so clearly. God says those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, they'll see it for what it really is, basically. And man, I just see it. I see the enemy at work, and it's not a funny situation, but I chuckle at the thought that the enemy thinks that he's gonna win. It's just like, man, you're trying really hard here, buddy, but it's just not gonna amount to anything. But it's so sad at the same time. It's been a wonderful season for us, but we realize it hasn't been a wonderful season for everyone. So our prayers have been up for all of those affected by COVID and job losses, and then you have the racial injustice, and there's just so much going on in our world right now that's causing separation. And then you take what's going on in politics. I'm not a political person, but what the heck was that debate the other night? Like, just like all of these things that are happening, and I'm like, God, we need you now more than ever. So make your presence known. He says the light will become lighter and the dark will become darker, and I think that's so apparent right now in our world. So yeah, if I had any encouragement for those listening, it would be to go all in with what you believe, because it'll make a difference right now.
Well, all summer and fall, we presented a series of shows to help people get their tools back, because as I've said many times before, we all had our toolbox was full in the middle of March, and then all of a sudden that Corona thing came in and stole all of our tools.
Sure.
And so we've been doing, every show we've done since then has been about helping folks get their tools back. And,
I love that.
Yeah. And now that we've moved into the holiday season, it's about finding a miracle. Because I think now more than ever, we're all looking for a miracle.
Yeah. Funny you should say that. I have a song called Miracles I released earlier this year, and before the story of my twins, to me it was just about finding the miracles in everyday things. We so often overlook the blessings that happen, or God at work in the everyday things. We woke up this morning, hallelujah, we take that for granted pretty much every day, or we have a roof over our head, or whatever it may be. But then with Ava Dior, it took on a whole new meaning for me. It's like, man, not only appreciating those little things, but man, when you have that mindset, you're more willing to believe God for the big things. And it's funny, we've been in a global pandemic. There's been all kinds of, political unrest, and I mean, you name it, it's happened this year. The only thing that hasn't is Godzilla, but I'm still not sure it won't.
We have a couple more weeks left.
We do. But what's amazing is that even just in my own personal life, God has showed up again and again and again. Just to be fully open, touring stopped, as we all know, and that's a big source of income for artists. So, and I've got 2 babies on the way. I'm like, Lord, timing on this is not great. I know you know this, but just voicing my opinion. And I saw checks come in the mail for songs I released on my first record that radio stations started playing again. And I'm like, what? I'm not going to ask why, just keep doing it, please. And it's just so cool. Some people would call it coincidence or say the stars aligned, align in my song Miracles, but I know it for what it really is, and it's God at work. And I think pretty much everyone listening would be like, you know what, looking back on it, I'm still here, and we've survived this thing, and honestly, mentally and spiritually, I'm doing better now than I was in March. Like you said, our toolboxes were tipped over and there were some tools missing, but it can be difficult when that happens, but I think it's necessary, because then you can look around and look at all the things that you've been taught and all the tools you've acquired along the way and go, does this really do what I need it to do, or do I need this, or whatever? And you're able to go back and look at the things you really need and the things that do the job the best, and you get to fill your toolbox back up, and then it's just easier. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing okay out there, and it's going to get better. God promises us that.
I know for myself, I pivoted because I took the whole thing seriously.
Yeah.
The one thing, being a single guy living here at the homestead, I felt very much in isolation.
Sure, yeah, I can imagine.
And so I made a big decision, and that is to get out and walk every day. And I'm just about ready to hit, see, I have my little band on. I'm just about ready to hit 1,000 miles.
That's awesome.
Now, I would never have done that. I guarantee you. But now I'm like on autopilot. I go out in the morning. I go out at night.
That's awesome.
So I'm walking about 2 hours a day now.
Heck yeah, that is amazing.
Because of this whole situation.
Yeah.
And I think, too, it's given me time to, it's eliminated a lot of distractions that I had in my life.
Yeah.
And it's given me the opportunity to reflect and focus a lot more than ever before. So, yeah, and I know for a lot of people, they're still trying to find that miracle. I've had 2 people around me commit suicide in the last month.
Wow.
So it's a lot of people are dealing with it in different ways.
Sure.
I read somewhere that 40% of America is going through some form of depression right now. So, and this is going to be a different Christmas season. Let's face it. Yeah. There aren't going to be any kids sitting on Santa's lap.
No. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
How many churches are going to have a full-blown candlelight service this year?
Right.
Or is it going to be limited to, 50 people?
Or is it going to be virtual? Yeah.
Or virtual or outside or whatever. So, it's caused us all to think a little different. Now, talking about thinking different, you're getting ready to go on the road and do drive-in concerts with Skillet.
Yeah. Man.
With people in lawn chairs, right? Or pickup trucks.
Yeah, it probably depends on what region we're going to. Yeah, when I signed up to do music, I never thought that I would be doing drive-in shows, but here we are. It's odd. I did a couple shows with New Song a couple weeks ago, and it felt so great to be playing shows again. I'm also changing it up personally. I don't have a band with me, so it's just me doing a loop thing, which has been a lot of fun to learn, and had a lot of time in quarantine, so I learned a lot of new tricks. But it was so great doing that. But I'm also a really high energy performer. I love doing that. I love connecting with the audience. And with a drive-in show, it's just that much harder to do so. So if you're coming out to those shows, please give me some love, give Skillet some love, because we need it. Our shows thrive on audience interaction. So that's been tricky. But you take what you can. I'm just thrilled to be playing shows again.
Do people, do they applaud or honk horns?
Both. I was so curious of that, and I'll probably be able to report back to you after this weekend. But I'm like, man, I know I'm going to have that guy in like an old pickup truck who just waits for the serious moment and just starts laying on his horn. That was like my fear. Just like, I'm going to be talking about, like the near-death experience of my firstborn child, or, whatever it is, and just be like,
You'll be like at a Trump rally where the president's like, get him out of here.
Yeah, that truck right there, out of there. Security.
Well, no, what's he say? Send him home to mama.
That's hilarious. Yes. Oh man. But yeah, it was fun. You play off of it. It's cheesy, but it's like, hey, thanks so much for coming out. If you like the song, honk the horn. Here we go. And you dive in and it's fun. It feels more relaxed, and it's not this full-blown production, and people know that, and it's just very personable and raw and feels like you're in someone's living room. You just happen to be outside, and feels like a cookout. And someone was like, hey, you want to get up and play a couple songs? It's like, sure, let's do it.
Sure,
that's what
not?
It feels like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun. So I've been enjoying it. Looking forward to the shows with Skillet this weekend.
So what's Christmas going to be like around your house this year, now that you have these two beautiful girls?
Oh my
Three
gosh.
beautiful girls.
Yes.
What's it going to be like?
Two new
You're
ones.
really outnumbered now. You know that.
I know I'm very outnumbered. I felt outnumbered just with my wife. So now it's like, it's definitely outnumbered. Man, I'm so excited for Christmas again. Not that I wasn't last year. It's like going to Disney World just with you and your spouse, and then going to Disney World with kids. 'Cause I've been with some friends' kids, and just to see their eyes light up at the wonder and just the amazingness of everything. Christmas, I'm excited for that for Christmas. I know it's still probably a little early. They'll just be a few months old, but yeah, we're gonna decorate and we're gonna do it up, man. So excited for that. It brings new excitement to every aspect of our lives, not just Christmas. Even the little things. It's like, hey, we're gonna go out to eat. It's like, we're going to bring the girls. They're going to be sitting next to the table. And I don't know why. That was just so exciting to me. Yeah, it's just fun, man. It's fun all around.
Just wait till you go out to a restaurant. I remember my daughters. We were in Aruba, and my daughters, oh gosh. Actually, it was just my oldest at the time. We had not had Elizabeth yet, but with Veronica, she was 2 years old. And we were sitting in a restaurant in Aruba, an Italian restaurant, and she was sitting in her little baby chair. And you'll get all the pictures where they're taking the spaghetti and their whole face is going to be yeah. So she was like 2.5, something like that. And all I remember is that she grabbed that spaghetti in her little hand, right? And she's like playing around with it.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, she raised her arm and threw it, and it went over our heads to the next table. And there was a couple having dinner, and that ball of spaghetti ended up right smack in the middle of their table. And I didn't know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And just turned around and like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And these people just stared at us for about 5 seconds, and they just broke out laughing.
That is awesome. That's good.
Get ready for those moments.
Yep. We are trying to prepare as much as we can. We hear that you can never be ready for those moments when they happen. It's such a surprise. And
then the potty training thing.
Oh.
That's going to be. See, you should write down all of these wonderful moments. Well, you'll record them all, I'm sure. I get about 1,000 videos of my kids that I still have yet to edit, but. One of them will get the potty training thing down. The other one will take an extra 2 years.
I'm hoping with twins, they'll figure it out. They'll help each other. Be like, no. This is
right.
Thank you, Jesus. Man, diapers.
Oh boy. I want to tell you, I don't mean to make you, I'm just going to give you something to think about as you're driving over to the drive-in for that big concert. You superstar, you. because I'm telling you right now, my daughter, Veronica, and you have this fear with number one, but now that you have two, you're okay. I remember, I think we're about a month and a half into it. Maybe she was 2 months old, and her mom finally took a night off and went out with her girlfriends.
Yep.
So I was alone with baby number one, Veronica.
Yep.
And all I know is that when she would start crying, I started crying because I didn't know what to do.
I've been there, brother.
Yeah. You're like, oh, am I going to hurt her? Is something going to go wrong?
It seems so delicate. I know.
And I was changing her diapers. And that's an experience, of course. But,
yep.
and I'd done it before that night, but I think I changed her diapers about 3 times that night. And I'm like, man, this is a job to change these diapers, right?
Man, yeah. The like my wife will come and do it. I've seen other women do it. It's so fast and so efficient. One wipe,
yeah,
done.
Yeah,
Diapers done.
Well, give it a couple of months. It's not so fast.
That's true.
Let them get a little big. It's like a puppy. They go from being a puppy to a 130-pound Bernese Mountain Dog.
It's like, ooh, yeah, that changed a little bit. But man, for me, I'm using like 5-6 wipes, 2 or 3 diapers because they decide to go again while, you've got their diaper off. You got to change their outfit. It's like, wow, that turned into an episode. That could have been a Seinfeld episode right there. Crazy. But, yeah.
Here's what I did. I changed diapers many, many times over that first couple of months, and that night I was alone. I'm like, my life, it's never going to be the same. I'm going to be changing diapers. You think I'm going to be changing diapers forever. And I kid you not, I took out a calculator, and I'm like, okay, if she poos this many times a day, times X number of days, times X number of months, times years. And it came out to some ridiculous number like 10,840 or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, 10,000 times 3 minutes? That's like, oh, whatever. I'm like, I literally had a meltdown at the calculator trying to figure out how in the world are we going to live our lives by changing diapers for, 500 million minutes.
Yeah, it's wow. Yeah,
I'm just giving you a heads up because when you go through that, because have you been alone with them yet?
I have.
You have.
Yeah.
So you've lived a little bit of some kind of experience.
Oh yeah, it was an experience. Yeah. They were both down in Athens. I was trimming up my beard actually, so the hum of the razor blocked out the audio from the monitor.
Mm-hmm.
I look down and she is screaming bloody murder, and I'm like, so I run in. She has tears running out the side of her face. I've never seen that before. I've never heard her cry like this. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst father in the world. Your heart just breaks. Like, what is happening? And her nose is stopped up. You're like, oh, you do the saline drops and just you do what you know to do. She's still crying. I call my wife. I'm like, you have to come home. I don't know. What do I do? And she's like, it's okay. It's fine. Just talk to her and she'll calm down. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's okay, sweet. Wah! Finally, she calmed down a little bit. But man, even when Annie got home, her eyes were still red, had tears still welling up in her eyes. It's like, you can't do that. I can't be here alone with them again. You can't do that to me, or to them. They obviously need their mama.
This is husband abuse.
I just feel helpless, and you do. But yeah, you make sure they're fed. You change the diaper, see if their nose is stopped up at all. But it's like after that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm clueless.
Yeah. Well, my friend, this has been fun. This is great, and I expect to see those home movies.
Oh yes,
in the months to come. Man, document everything. I'm sure you are.
We are. Yep. Every second of every day we've got on our phones.
Yeah, that is just so cool, and congratulations to you and Annie and the kids. And have you got a puppy yet?
No puppy.
Well,
I was thinking like, man, maybe we should do a puppy first, just to kind of break us in to having to take care of something else.
Yeah.
Being responsible for something else. And we decided against it. And now with twins, it's kind of like, do we dare add something else we have to take care of? Or is it something that, sure, it requires a little bit of work, but it entertains the girls maybe? So I think eventually we'll entertain that idea. I love dogs. My wife does too, but...
well, I guarantee you you're going to be getting a puppy within the next couple of years, because those girls are going to want, Daddy, we want a puppy.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. All they have to say is, Daddy. I'm going to bring out the checkbook and be like, whatever you want. Just name it. Name your price.
Okay,
Let's do it.
I just have you now a recording of you saying that.
Yep.
So in a few years...
yeah, they're not going to need to hear it. They're going to know. They already have Daddy wrapped around their little fingers.
Well, thank you, my friend, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas almost, and we really appreciate you, and just keep up the good work, okay?
Man, thank you so much for having me. Merry Christmas, everybody.
And thank you, Colton. Colton Dixon, his EP is out right now, and of course his single is called Miracles. Stream it wherever you get your music. Check it out. And I want to thank Colton for sharing his great story about his twins and his wife Annie, and he's such an inspiration. Colton Dixon, everybody. Hey, this has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, the podcast from the producers of Keep the Faith. We really appreciate you. Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. That's how others find out about us, okay? And until next time, I'm David Sands. Remember to go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. See you next time.